Hello everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Robert Stickle, and I'm also joined by my colleague Jim Patterson. Jim will be today's presenter and will discuss the topic of optimizing organizational success with Microsoft's Strategic Portfolio Management solution. This webinar is a new addition to our series of Strategic Portfolio Management webinars, so if you enjoy this video, feel free to watch the others we have available on our channel and look towards the next installment, which we'll be releasing soon. And as always, I hope that today's presentation grants you some insight into the world of project and portfolio management and gets you excited for the new developments happening within the industry and here at OnePlan. Thank you again. I'll now turn the presentation over to Jim.
Thanks, Robert, and thanks for joining us, everybody. We're pleased to be part of the Microsoft virtual webinar series here today. And this topic is something that many organizations are pursuing today, the whole goal of more strategic portfolio management. And we can do that today in Microsoft's cloud platform. And we're going to talk about some of those concepts here today. On our agenda here, I want to talk a little bit about strategic portfolio management concepts and what those actually mean. And then we're going to talk about the specific tool sets in the Microsoft cloud that can help us achieve SPM or strategic portfolio management. We'll talk about Viva goals. We'll talk about Project for the Web. We'll talk about OnePlan, adding the strategic portfolio management layer to make this a comprehensive SPM solution. And we'll demonstrate some of these at a high level for you today. At the end, we'll have a summary and wrap up of some actions you can take. And then we'll have a Q&A session at the end where you'll be able to submit questions that we can respond to at the end of the webinar. So with that, let's get started. You know, OnePlan is focused on this area of project and portfolio management. It's really our passion. We're not a general systems integrator or Microsoft general technology partner. We focus on this area, and hence, you know, we've been recognized by Microsoft and recognized as their global project and portfolio management partner of the year 3 of the last 4 years, and a finalist in the other year. We have a lot of capabilities and knowledge in the Microsoft technologies, but also the disciplines that are required in here. We even get recognized by the analysts like Gartner and Infotech Research for those capabilities. So let's talk about why this topic is important. You know, the whole concept of traditional project to portfolio management, or PPM, has taken hold over the last decades, and we've achieved some benefits as organizations. We've advanced the ball on things like getting more clarity and consistency on our project management activities across the board. You know, help us define and pursue clearer objectives, you know, in executing our projects, and make our planning more realistic and complete, and really try to optimize the allocation of our resources across those projects, and even improve the quality of our deliverables as we provide more clarity, and just better visibility and reporting across an entire portfolio of projects and initiatives that we have. The strategic alignment of projects, some are doing that, but there's still a ways to go on that, and we'll still talk about that today, but we have started that discussion and that process. What we need to do is we really need to get better as organizations as aligning our strategy with the execution. And Gartner says that this is really a set of processes that we have to go through that involve people, strategy, and operations, but also a system to pull all these things together to make it all work as a cohesive process. Now, strategic portfolio management is beyond just having a strategic plan and maybe aligning them with your projects. It also is a set of things that are associated or related to our projects that may impact our decisions to prioritize them and select them for performance in the first place. It also may help us redirect what we should be working on, and also give us visibility into what the organization wants to do as a whole and how we're contributing to that. So to do that, we really need, as Gartner says, an enterprise-wide strategy to execution alignment and adaptation of that across the organization. And more than just aligning our initiatives with strategies themselves, there may be business capabilities that need to evolve and change. Digital and physical products that we need to either develop or enhance. Applications and software that need to be related and that may have to be addressed in order to succeed at achieving the outcomes that we want. And then the projects and the initiatives themselves. But the idea here is that we got to bring this stuff all together so that leadership sets the direction, IT and other management maybe own the critical assets, you know, that we need to support the success of our initiatives and our strategies. And then, of course, the execution teams that actually have to deliver on this stuff once those things are set into motion. So the key attributes of strategic portfolio management, or SPM, are portfolio alignment, value-driven decision-making, and ongoing portfolio flexibility. And that Gartner states that organizations that become highly effective at all three attributes are much more likely to drive positive business outcomes, and that's the goal. We don't have to be fully mature in SPM in order to see the benefits of it, but if we embark upon this, we can get better and improve and get better outcomes over time. So in this shift towards SPM, to help us enable more organizational agility, there's things that Gartner found in some of their surveys, is that only 16% of organizations are highly effective at all the three key attributes that we just talked about, meaning there's a huge opportunity for growth from the vast majority of us in our organizations. And that we want to get a handle on this so that we can not have fragmented approaches to future work, so we don't incur excessive costs on things like conflicting priorities, redundant processes, redundant projects we may have, even misaligned goals, maybe working on the wrong things. And we also want to allow enough strategic effort for the organization so that we don't get so sucked up by the day-to-day operations that we unintentionally pull the enterprise away from its strategic objectives because we get bogged down in the day-to-day. So some predictions by the Gartner Group in their survey was that by 2025, 70% of digital investments will fail to deliver expected business outcomes due to the absence of strategic portfolio management approaches. So that should be a cautionary statement there for us. And that by 2024, half of EPMOs will have the ability to rapidly sense and orchestrate changing conditions. This means to enable this, the move that's out there is more from departmental PMOs to more enterprise PMOs, such that we can look at the impacts and the associations and the dependencies that we have across the entire organization as we try to achieve these strategies, like major transformation efforts in organizations. Okay, and that by 2024, they say that 80% of digital businesses will integrate SPM and execution technologies to make all this happen. Now, if you haven't done this yet, you're not late. We're very early in the SPM hype cycle here, meaning we're in that innovation area where it's just starting to take hold. But rapidly, we're going to get to where it's a part where we get to the height of the expectations, and then the times when we're going to have to refine all this stuff. So you're not too late to get on this bandwagon for strategic portfolio management that we're going to talk to you about in the show today. Now, the Microsoft strategic portfolio management solution that we're going to talk about today incorporates this all in the Microsoft cloud and from different angles. We're going to talk about Viva Goals today, part of the Viva suite of tools for employee experience. That is a tool that's going to help us develop and implement corporate strategies. We have OnePlan. Well, let's just say we have Project for the Web, which is Microsoft's new modern execution tool for building project plans and schedules that we can execute on the things and the initiatives that we have for these strategies. And then we're going to talk about OnePlan, tying all this together to bring strategy and execution together, and in between provide all the portfolio management layer types of capabilities that you're going to want in order to succeed here. So that's going to be our goal today, is to demonstrate these things to you. So Microsoft Viva, for those of you who aren't familiar with it, it's an employee experience platform and ecosystem that's made up of a number of components. It has things regarding keeping employees engaged and informed, helping them have insights about productivity and where they can maybe do better for a more balanced existence within their organizations. There's Viva Learning for development and upskilling and growth of people, and Viva Topics just for content and knowledge and expertise that people might want to have for content management. But irrespective of those aspects of Viva that were there originally, over the last year plus, Microsoft introduced another tool to that suite called Viva Goals. And the idea here is to bring purpose and impact to the employee experience. So from a strategic perspective, we want to create clarity and stay aligned by defining success as a team and connect work to the outcomes that the organization wants to achieve for the entire organization. They want to focus the teams on impact and not output. Just because we do a lot of work doesn't mean we're doing something meaningful. So the idea is to focus on work that moves the business forward and helps us stay agile at scale to make sure that we redirect and work on the things that are important to the organization. And then bring the goals into the flow of everyday work. so that we can align these things with the actual real work that we're doing and see what impact we're going to make on the overall direction of the company. So Viva Goals leverages something called OKRs, objectives and key results, to align teams around a proven business goal setting and management methodology. So the objectives really are the strategies or the aspirations that we want to set, we want to have, or the goals we want to set. The key results are the kind of the tangible, measurable outcomes that we want to measure to see, are we making progress towards the objectives that we have? And of course, we want to align this with initiatives and projects that are the efforts that have to be completed in order to support the achievement of the key results and hence the objectives. Now, the survey that was done on Microsoft's behalf says that 96% of employees who use OKRs understand how their work ties into broader company goals, meaning we know we're working on the right things and how we're going to contribute to that. So you might ask, what is an OKR? It's objectives and key results, and it is a tried and true management methodology that is becoming more and more prevalent these days, and it helps ensure that the company focuses on efforts that are on the same important issues across the organization. So an objective is that aspirational goal of what you want to do, and the key result is how you know if you've achieved it. So each objective should have a handful of key results for each of those to measure, and the key results should be measurable and something that is easy to grade so that we can see that we are indeed making progress. And a key result should describe an outcome, not an activity. It's not that we can check the box to say that we've actually done something. It's really, have we achieved something? Have we achieved an outcome? And these OKRs are things that can be done at different levels of the organization. Now, John Doerr, who wrote the definitive book on this called Measure What Matters, the quote from there says, a healthy OKR environment strikes a balance between alignment and autonomy, common purpose and creative latitude. We don't want to structure it so much that people's hands are tied and stifle creativity, but we want people to be striving for the goals. Now, when we talk about OKRs at different levels, let's just say an executive or organizational overarching goal should be, what is our strategic focus as an organization? Let's say a departmental OKR may be, okay, how can we contribute to that company strategy from our departmental perspective? And those things can be, those OKRs can be done all the way down to the individual level. So now that we've talked about strategy and putting strategies and objectives and key results in place, the execution piece is something that can be done very nicely by Microsoft Project for the Web, Microsoft's latest modern approach into doing project planning, scheduling, etc. It's a simple, powerful project management software that is easy to get into and does the basics for folks so that they can actually get up and easy and productive quickly. And what it does is it provides a fresh new web-based experience. It makes collaboration easy because it leverages things like co-authoring, like the rest of Microsoft Office does, and it provides a platform for intelligent planning and use of different tools and collaborative things that we have. And we'll talk about the need for doing those things in teams. So, for example, the project management pieces that are in there, you can build schedules, say in the upper left there, in a simple grid that's more like a spreadsheet. So very simply doing the things that you need to do to list out and structure the tasks. You can work with them in a more agile approach, like with boards that you see in the middle here with cards. And then the traditional Gantt or timeline views, and work with the same data in those ways. So whatever way you're most comfortable working in, you can work in it in this regard. And it's in this simpler web-based approach. So folks that might have shied away from using the full Microsoft Project Professional on the desktop because of the training and all the feature functions that's in there, this gets to the main things that you need to do and get there quickly and do it easily. So it can be maybe more accessible to more people in the organization. On top of that, it's designed to be used in collaboration with Microsoft Teams, such that your schedules, for example, that are built for Project for the Web or your plans, can be added to any team within Microsoft Teams. And it can be worked with in conjunction with the posts that you might have and conversations. It might be tied to all the files and content regarding that project plan. And also, if there's other tools that you're using or other things that you're using to help manage your projects, in addition to that, it can become a hub for you to add all those different applications or reports or whatever they might be into that collaborative mix. So the idea is it's designed to be worked with in conjunction with teams very readily. Now, OnePlan really designed to really bridge all this stuff together, where Teams puts this stuff together in a collaborative hub. From a functional feature function hub, think about pre-configured solutions for the Microsoft Cloud where OnePlan can help connect it all. So at the top here, we see strategy that's done by Viva Goals. In the middle, we see portfolios that are, and portfolio management capabilities that are done by OnePlan. And all the execution down below could be done by a variety of initiatives and plans that are feeding into that overall portfolio, with the execution being done by Project for the Web. So what OnePlan capabilities are in the middle in that portfolio piece? Well, there's portfolio planning and visibility, which gives you very flexible views. In this case, I'm looking at kind of a more of a list view with some KPIs and a little bit of a timeline perspective on how we're doing with this portfolio. There's board views of the same portfolio information, so people that are working with things in a more agile fashion and want to do things like program increment planning, they can look at the portfolio in that perspective and work with it that way. Even roadmap views for more product-oriented types of people are automatically generated based upon the data in that portfolio in OnePlan that's coming from a variety of sources. Now, the resource planning allows us to do very easy resource capacity planning so that we can determine, do we have the resources that are needed to execute on the projects that we would like to do or that we aspire to do, and help us select the right ones for that mix. There's also financial planning. So if we want to do detailed financials, we can derive labor costs from those resource plans into a detailed financial plan, as well as non-labor costs, and track those on a time phase basis, and track things like original budgets versus revised forecasts versus actuals, etc. And then as we talk about the execution side of things and the bottoms up on that, there may be more waterfall type work plans and more agile plans. And those things may be coming from a variety of tools like a planner from Microsoft, or Project for the Web into the waterfall nature, or agile plans might be coming from something like an Azure DevOps. The key is that all data, regardless of its source, is coming together and coalescing into OnePlan to be rolled up and used at a portfolio level consistently in one place. And that even includes status reporting that can come from those variety of sources. On top of that, the ability to provide a single hub so that contributors or team members on these projects can update all of their work in a My Work area, or even a timesheet if they have to provide time, whether it be for capitalization, whether it be for chargebacks, whether it be for billing to other clients or external entities. That stuff's all built into the mix. And then homepage or insights gives each user the ability to see, what's being communicated to them and what things require their attention, and give them access to the projects that they have on their plate. Now, what makes all that possible by being able to leverage other tools is OnePlan does have some pre-built connectors, and some of them are for Microsoft Project and Planner or Azure DevOps for the Agile. Today, we're going to focus on the Project for the Web pieces on that, but just be aware that there's connectors for other tools to bring it into that portfolio management mix. Now, we talked about the need to align to strategy in strategic portfolio management. But if you're going to embark upon full strategic portfolio management as laid out in that framework by the analysts, we need to possibly associate and align with other things and factor other things into the mix. So for example, let's just say we have OKRs and we have a business objective of, say, grow revenue 15%. And then we have these tangible key results we talked about that are going to help us measure whether or not we're making progress towards achieving the objective. Current market growth of 10%, grow online ordering to 20%, implement 5 new partners, some numeric things that we can actually say, how much of that have we done? Now, there may be other things now. There might be things in an enterprise or business architecture realm, like a business capability, like order processing is a capability that might have to be modernized or improved or enhanced in order to successfully achieve our objective and our key results. That capability might be supported by applications, and those applications that are critical to achieving this might also have to be considered, upgraded, or modified in order to support that, at the very least factored into the equation as to whether or not we can actually achieve that business objective. And then once we have that, we have all the initiatives or projects that need to be worked on, and all of those need to be probably aligned with these other elements in order to get a complete picture and factor in all the things we need to do in order to succeed, or to decide whether or not we're going to select and embark upon a project in the first place. Now, what's nice about this is we can have one comprehensive solution where Viva Goals is actually helping us build that strategic plan that then synchronizes with OnePlan. And OnePlan can then provide the enterprise architecture or the elements of that enterprise architecture so that we can align it with our projects and initiatives and a full project portfolio and its portfolio management disciplines that we can actually manage right here in OnePlan. Now, you may think with all this alignment now, with all these different particular elements, it could get complex. Now, you can look at it, contextually or, in a system like you would in a database, for example, but graphically being able to visualize these interrelations and these associations and these dependencies is important so that we can look at things, how they interrelate to each other, how the objectives and key results may relate to projects and how those projects might relate to applications or products or business capabilities. Those visuals are very important, and have them available to you helps you not only in the decision-making process, but even helps you with red, yellow, green here to determine what things might be off track or may be at risk. And then we have the OnePlan Modeler. If you take all that into consideration and you've got to redirect course and you've got to adjust to this, the situation on the ground, we have the ability to do what-if scenario modeling so that you can look at alternatives as to how we might redirect, restage, select other projects, maybe deselect others, and see how it fits into overall budget and or resource management constraints. So, for example, if my first picture was financial modeling, this might be what the resource requirements are in a particular scenario, and then be able to compare the different scenarios to see maybe what our best course of action might be to get the right outcomes we were looking for. So overall, if we think about, to recap, how OnePlan platform adds a complete strategic portfolio management solution, it fully incorporates project for the web and its project schedules, it assigning resources to tasks, dependencies, and the project reports around that it generates via a report pack in Power BI. The strategy piece and the OKRs being generated by Viva Goals. But then if you think about the rich set of capabilities for portfolio management, now organizations don't have to adopt all these to be successful or to move the ball forward into the right direction from an overall SPM maturity perspective, but being able to bring all these things into the mix, like project requests, enhanced prioritization and what if, detailed financial management, resource capacity planning, things like issues, risks, and changes, and governance and status reports, and that my work and that timesheet area. These are all things that can be provided to you. So whatever your aspirations are for your needs of your organization, we can fully get this, and these building blocks you see here all coalesce now into a common solution. So the other aspect about OnePlan is you can use OnePlan directly in your browser, just like you can with many of the Microsoft tools. But should you be working in solutions in other environments, for example, if you have a Power Apps strategy, and maybe you want to use the Power Apps components that are aligned with Project for the Web, you can do that, but you can surface and utilize OnePlan in that Power App solution or really any other Power App solution that you have in place. If you're in Teams, I mentioned that Project for the Web is a Teams application. Well, OnePlan is also an authorized Microsoft Teams application, so you can actually work with it in Teams, and I'll actually demonstrate it from within Teams today. At Azure DevOps for your Agile teams, if you're contributing Azure DevOps work into the mix of your overall portfolio in conjunction with the Project for the Web plans that you have, you can actually access the OnePlan capabilities while you're in Azure DevOps. We call that a fused user experience. Same thing would hold true in Dynamics, and the same thing holds true in SharePoint. So the idea is that stay working in the primary tools or areas that you're in and leverage the benefits of OnePlan wherever you're at. So with that, I'd like to transition to a demonstration. So let's start with Viva Goals. Now, Viva Goals allows you to do the OKRs that we talked about. And in this particular case, I'm looking at, say, overall organizational OKRs, like achieve record revenues here, and then breaking this out into some key results that might be below that, like hit quarterly revenue, of $1 million, or start sales in 2 new countries with revenues totaling a certain amount, or increase gross profit. Measurable, tangible things that we have here. There might be more departmental OKRs, right? About how the department is going to do things that are going to support those overall organizational objectives. And then potentially my OKRs. In this case, I'm going to demonstrate this as Daniel Williams. So the things that I'm doing here that contribute, or things that are organizational related OKRs that I have a key role in supporting. So the key there is that any of these OKRs can be set up such that you have objectives and then subordinate key results that support that you can then manage and track the progress of and how you're doing on all those types of things. For example, if I click on a specific objective, there's certain properties around that. For example, there's what I want to achieve and maybe when I want to achieve it by. And in this particular case, I see a graph here of saying that this was the planned trend that I'm on, and then the actual trend that I'm on. And it looks like right now I'm on a pretty good trajectory. I was ahead for a while, and now I'm a little bit on track to basically hit the objective at the time frame that we set out. There's other things like the associated key results that are in here. If there's any child objectives, so you can have a hierarchy of objectives as well, and then any other activity you might have around these things. There's other things you might have like comments around these things, or be able to share it with other people. And then ultimately you can do things like add key results, add child objectives, align these things with other elements like projects, for example, and do the things that you might want to do within this. And then, within the key results area, let's just say this key result of win best product of the year. Similar types of things are available to us here as well. We can basically see that we are lagging a little bit behind of where we wanted to be, and maybe the timeline. It looks like we're a little bit later here, even though it says we're on track. The ability to have other information around that is all available here to these objectives and key results. So the thing is, you can model this for the organization as a whole, for a department, or for the individual. Now, to support this in the project execution area, Microsoft Project for the Web is designed to make it easy for you to get started. So for example, a project homepage gives you access like other things in Office, where you might see your most recent plans. You might have an area what's been shared with me, or just focus on the things that are created with me, or maybe favorites of the thing you're working in all the time and go into the plans that you want to go into all the time. Starting a project is as simple as clicking on new project. And if I start from a blank project, all I have to do is give this a name. And for example, I'll just call this webinar, and it'll make me the project manager. I may give it a project start of, say, today. I'll make me Daniel Williams, my fictional character in here, the project manager in here, and I'm off to the races. So here I've now got this project called webinar. I can work in a grid or board or a timeline view. But this grid view would allow me to do things like saying, let me put phase 1 in here. Let me put task 1-1, task 1-2, etc. And I'm not going to do a data entry exercise for you. I'll go to a full plan that's already built up. But I could do things here like say, let me make these subtasks and build a hierarchy and a work breakdown structure. I can add columns into the plan. So for example, if I wanted to put the start and the finish and the duration in here, the idea here is that I can, get all that information here in one place. So for example, here I could say, this duration is going to be a 5-day task, and this one will be, say, a 10-day task. And now I have dates and durations here available to me. So very simple for me to do that and to add even custom fields in here that I might want. So for example, I can add new text fields and number fields and date fields or flag fields and things like that. The key is that I can build this stuff very easily. Now, to keep it simple today, given the time frame that we have, and if I want to go to the back to the project home, one, you'll see that the webinar plan is now in my recent ones, but I have one here in my favorites called software development. In that software development, I'll show some of the more comprehensive parts of this. So for example, here with a more fully built out plan, you'll see that I've got in this grid view, a view of what's been completed. It shows me very readily, graphically, that it's been completed. It shows me maybe highlighting tasks that may be behind that I need to focus on in that area. I'm even using something in here called labels that allows me to label tasks and color code them in different areas so that they're categorized in certain ways for me to do that. I have the ability to create dependencies in here that allow me to do that finish to start and those types of things, and resource assignments in there as well. Now I can view this information in a grid view like this, or if I'm in an agile perspective, I can work with it in more of a board view, and I can group it by different things. Like here I see a grouping by priority on these tasks. Or maybe I want to take a look at this by progress and say what's started, what's in progress, or what's not started, what's in progress, what's completed. Or maybe I just want to look at two by who's assigned to what, and I can see which resources on this particular project are assigned to which tasks and that kind of perspective. And I can look at these things by, things by their labels. So if you use these different labels for different things, we can actually leverage that and categorize these things by labels. And then ultimately, there's a timeline view for the Gantt charts that people want to look at as well, for that more traditional view, where they can do things like look at the plan, look at the timeline, and even graphically do things like create dependencies and those types of things. So this is the types of things where we have charting like you have in Planner to give you some key metrics. You can look at maybe the people and how they're progressing about complete and incomplete tasks. And even, resource assignments view that might give you a visibility into who's working on what and to what degree they're working on within this individual project plan, but not in a portfolio context. So the key here is it's a lot of rich capabilities that are easy to get to, easy to access, and quick to build plans that you can get the execution piece done. But the goal here is that you're going to have an aggregation of project plans where you're going to need some portfolio management overall. So with this, let me go to back to Teams, and let's look at OnePlan. As I mentioned, OnePlan is also a authorized Microsoft Teams application, so it's available for you to put into your left navigation as the tool, as one of your solutions overall, or you can interject Teams in OnePlan into any individual team or channel that you might want to as well. So once again, fully integrated there. Now, if I want to go look at OnePlan, let me start by going into the strategic plan or my strategy. And this is where the integration from OneConnect allows us with OnePlan to bring in whatever objectives and key results that were generated in Viva Goals to allow us to bring those into here and work with those. So the ones that we saw in the front end there are now shared and synchronized over to here so that we can align them with the portfolio overall. And in this particular case, as I'm looking at these strategies, I can determine a number of different things or associate them with other areas. For example, if I drill into a key result here, like create 20 customer case studies, that's a key result on the launch product successfully. I've got the high level metrics that were brought over in here from Viva Goals. I've got the metric trend, but what I'm adding here to the mix is the associations where I might have ideas or requests that this strategy is associated with. Or I may have associated this with specific projects and or epics or initiatives that are in here that are associated as well as potentially aligned budget. And we're going to talk about the enterprise architecture elements here, like products or applications that this thing might be aligned with as well. So the idea is we can create that type of association, those interrelations that we need for full analysis. Now, if I go to those pieces first before I head over to the project portfolio, if we look at the ability, and not everyone does this, but the idea here is this enterprise architecture alignment, this piece that's key into doing full strategic portfolio management. You may have a portfolio of products or business capabilities, or maybe value streams or applications that you want to associate and align your projects and initiatives with. And that's where we can actually manage these types of things. So for example, let's just drill into an application, for example, and I'll drill into this CRM application. And in here, I could be managing a variety of things regarding that. So for example, I might have in here, data regarding, the application vision, the timeline and the life cycle and where we're at with it. But once again, the associations we have with things like associated objectives that we have with this and value streams, et cetera, and what initiatives are related to this particular application is all important as we look through all this. So the idea here is it's flowing through from Viva goals, but we're now associating those objectives and key results with other elements in the strategic portfolio management landscape. Okay, so if I go to my portfolio here and we start drilling into how these things relate to the projects and initiatives, you'll see that I have a project summary, and there's a portfolio view that has a list of all my different projects. You'll see that I'm actually aligned or associated with a bunch of different applications. Some are synchronized with Teams, some are synced with Project for the Web, for example. And in that regard, we have individual projects that are contributing to this portfolio. So for this particular case, I'm going to drill into this Project for the Web project, which is associated with Microsoft Project for the Web through the connector. And if I look at the details around this, just like we did with the application, you'll see that we have, header information. We might have a phase or life cycle for this particular project or initiatives. We have the key data or metadata that we want to use this for reporting and alignment and analysis. We might have a business case that came over from the request process, et cetera. But you'll also see that in here, we have alignment with those enterprise architecture elements and, for example, associated with the key results from the strategy, associated with an application, associated with products. And this one doesn't have any association with any value streams at this particular point in time. But you get the idea that it's a comprehensive and it fits into the entire mix and related to everything else that we're managing. Now, in addition to this, if we drill into the Project for the Web, I can go into the resource plan itself. And the resource planning capability that OnePlan adds gives us the ability to plan in terms of hours, FTEs, or percentages of allocation. And in that particular case, I can look and see what's needed for a particular project and either do it from the top down, where I'm kind of planning for this project at a top-down level, or I can be bringing that data in from the bottom up from the Project for the Web schedules themselves, and then look at the allocation and see what tasks these people are assigned within those Project for the Web plans and rolling that up from the bottom up. Now, in that mode, I might have a top-down plan and that's all I do. Maybe I'm not doing resource management at a task level. This might be all you do. But then again, you might be at a level where when you do have a schedule, you want to relate those things and compare them. So for example, if I come in here and I say, let me compare this top-down committed plan with the scheduled roll up here, I can see the variations and where maybe my original assumptions aren't what we thought. For example, we didn't have anything committed for Joe here in April, but it looks like the project schedule says I'm going to need 50% of his time in April. It looks like I have him scheduled for 8% of his time in May, but I need him 22% of the time according to the schedule. So the idea is that information is all rolling up. And by the way, because these resources have rates in this system, it will automatically bring the cost over for that particular role or that person in that role into an overall financial plan, which then also has the ability for me to do other types, for example, like software and contracts and other materials where I can actually enter values for those. Now the tie-off, and where this is really tied to Project for the Web, is in the work plan. So this Project for the Web work plan, this data actually came from a Project for the Web plan where all the planning was done. Now, if I look at this and I go look at where it's connected, I can see that it's actively connected to Project for the Web. And our OneConnect platform will automatically synchronize this periodically, typically hourly, with the data that's over in Project for the Web and bring it in and refresh it here into OnePlan. Now, if I want to do something on demand and bring that data in on demand, I can do that at any given point in time. But the source plan that this is coming from, if I go to open that Project for the Web plan, is coming from here. And this is where we can build that plan like we discussed. This one doesn't have a hierarchy to it, but it's there. I've got the board and the timeline views and all the types of things that we talked about. But this is connected to the portfolio management system such that when we're in here, right, it's fully reflected and rolled up into the portfolio automatically, and it lets us deal with that resource planning, financial information, as we'll see shortly, the what if analysis stuff. So the idea here is that it's all fully tied together. Viva Goals is bringing that data synchronized with OnePlan. Project for the Web is synchronized with the OnePlan portfolio management capability and getting you the maximum value you can or that you desire to get out of here. Now, on the plan itself, we do have a backlog work type if you want to bring in agile plans. And we also have the ability to log issues, risks, change requests, key decisions, or you can even create others like a lessons learned and other things in here, here as well. So we talk about these different aspects, and it may start to sound a little bit complex, but let me go to my portfolio. And in my portfolio, let me go look at an overall portfolio summary view. So you can have multiple portfolios in here and have those break out. But let's just say I wanted to visualize the relationships of everything to this portfolio. And if I come in here and I say, let me visualize that, the relationships that have been created in here. Now, I don't have any other portfolios related to this one, but in this runway, I can see let me zoom this out a little bit. And you can see that we have this portfolio of which we have these programs within the portfolio. We have a bunch of projects and epics in various different health statuses. And then we can see that they're tied to certain key results and certain objectives. So we can see which strategies and which key results are related to which projects and epics and are which portfolios. So the idea is at this level, at this portfolio level, I can take a look at it that way. I could also come at it from the strategic area. So those strategies that we brought in from Viva Goals, I can come in here and I can say, let me visualize what's related to this objective of launch new projects successfully. And as I do that, I get a slightly different perspective. I can see that I actually have other objectives that are related to this as precursors and successors, but the runway here is a slightly different view. If I zip out of here a little bit, you can see the objective and the key results, the projects and the epics, but then the enterprise architecture things like which products those are related to, which applications those are related to, which business capabilities, as well as which particular value streams they might be related to as well. And at any given point in time, I can look at any one of this. And like I say, this project looks like it's at risk and going yellow. I can look at the details around any one of those things very quickly right here from this visual. So once again, we have all this power interrelated with one another. Now, if I go back to the portfolio for one more item here, and I look at, for example, a portfolio summary where I want to look at things by where it's related and shows the related applications and key results. So here's, for example, the key results. I could come in here, for example, and I could take a filter and I could say, let me filter by the associated key results. And let's say I focus on this one, achieve product engagement of 80%. I can see that if this is an important key result for the organization, I can very quickly see that, you know, I got two of these things on hold and I got one of them proposed. Am I putting at risk this particular key result by not actively pursuing these three that are either on hold or proposed? I might want to consider that in my prioritization. Alternately, if I clear that filter and go look at the entire portfolio again, I can look at how we prioritize these things in a ranked order, either by prioritization score or by dragging and dropping these things into a particular order. And I can do things like say, is this going to fit within our financial constraints? And I go immediately into a what if mode where I can say, let me look at my current budget for the year. And I can see, for example, that it's going to take $1.7 million more than I have. So maybe what I should do is think about maybe take these lower priority projects, and maybe some of these I won't do. And if I don't do those, I actually get these within maybe $500,000 of the budget target. So maybe in addition to that, maybe what I'll do is say, what are the next proposed projects here that maybe we got to consider? And I'll say, you know, maybe what I need to do here is defer these to the next fiscal year. And if I take that out, and let's just say I take this one out to the next fiscal year, then all of a sudden it's saying, you know, I'm now under the $6 million budget. I potentially can do this scenario, and I can save this as an overall scenario that I can revisit over and over again. And now with our modeling capability within OnePlan, I can now look at these things and let me go into an aggregate where I can save different models for different parts of the organization. And then I can do some comparisons, etc. For example, where I might have a mix of projects where I have 114 projects I think I want to do. And then I want to come in here and say, if I only had a $20 million budget, I can only do 80 of these things, and then these can't be done. But ultimately, I can come in and compare these things such that when I analyze, I can say, here's my $20 million budget, here's my $25 million budget, and here's what's involved if I do either of those, and so what benefits I might get, what efforts required, what total budget might be required, etc. And I can do things like look at my visualizations around that, basically seeing what's related to this, right? And in this scenario, see where things stand from that perspective, and look at that visualization capability while I'm in this what if mode and I'm making my decisions. So ultimately, wanted to paint the picture here of strategic planning, project execution, and then bringing those together with full portfolio management capabilities within OnePlan. So with that, let me go back to our slide presentation, and let's talk about some summary and some next steps. So what we showed you here today was that strategic portfolio management is a critical success factor for today's digital businesses, and that Microsoft's Viva Goals provides for strategic planning and execution, that OKRs define what you want to do and measure if you are achieving them, that strategy should be aligned through the organization to achieve desired outcomes, and that OnePlan adds capabilities to those tools to provide a full SPM solution to the degree that you want it. Now, Microsoft Viva Goals and OnePlan with Project for the Web provides the most complete set of SPM capabilities available on the Microsoft platform. So if you desire to do that and you're a Microsoft shop, please take a closer look at us. And OnePlan can help you integrate these with other solutions and help you execute and get to this point if that's where you want to be. So to learn more about Project, you can visit the website at Microsoft Project here. You'll get a copy of these slides for registering for this, so you don't have to take any notes here. You can actually try Project for the Web for free at this URL. And then there's also support and help and learning on this if you want to learn more about that. You'll get this information sent to you. You can also try a trial of Viva Goals at this URL. You'll have this in the slides. And you can also try the strategic portfolio management template for OnePlan solutions. So OnePlan, you can go to appsource.com for Microsoft. And I would encourage you, if you're interested in strategic portfolio management, to trial the strategic portfolio management template to see how that all works for yourself. If you want to contact me directly, there's a QR code here for my LinkedIn profile. I'm also at jpatterson@oneplan.ai. That's on the final slide. You can reach out to me if you have any questions you want to address with me directly. We would like to offer you a free roadmap workshop. If you want to discuss your solutions and tools and where you're at today and where you want to get to and what it might take to roadmap you into a solution like that and what it might cost. It might only be an incremental investment because you may already own a bunch of the tools that are already needed for what we showed you here today. So we can chaperone you on a free trial. We can provide a roadmap workshop, or we can do a more detailed, personalized one-on-one demo for you because I gave a very high-level demonstration. You can reach us at contact@oneplan.ai for that, or research just more about these solutions at www.oneplan.ai. And let us know if we can support you through any of this, even if it's initial exploration. We'd love to engage with you. So hope to see you soon and talk to you soon. Have a great day.